Welcome to the Moonshine Jesus Show. We are glad that you have joined us today. You're joining us for our discussion about Steven Spielberg's newest sci-fi movie, Disclosure Day. And right up front, I'm going to tell you there's going to be spoilers, and there's plenty to spoil in this movie. It's a typical Spielberg movie with lots of interesting twists and turns. So just be aware of that. Maybe you want to put it a pause if you haven't seen it. Go catch the movie and come back and watch the show. I am joined, as always, by my good buddy, Caleb. How you doing today, Caleb?
Hey, I'm doing great today, Mark. I'm ready to talk about Disclosure Day. How about you?
I am more than ready to talk about it. I think this is going to be a good discussion, and we'll jump into all of that as we move on. I do want to remind everybody that we are brought to you by the Center for Progressive Christianity, a great place for all of your progressive Christian resource needs. We encourage you to go there. But also we're sponsored by the Progressive Christian Alliance, which is a diverse, inclusive community reclaiming faith through justice, compassion, and radical welcome, as well as the Christian left. Well, following Jesus means standing up for the poor, the oppressed, and the truth, no matter how unpopular it gets. And nowadays, boy, it seems like it can get pretty unpopular. So, Caleb, we must have an adult beverage to go along with the show. I'm curious what you came up with.
So this is kind of a throwback to one of my favorite sci-fi shows that often had alien encounters, but it felt right to me today. It's called The Truth Is Out There, so a throwback to the X-Files there.
And that is, it's certainly on theme here.
Right? I mean, truth is a pretty big theme in Disclosure Day. Yep. So in The Truth Is Out There, I've got some bourbon, mezcal, honey syrup, lemon juice, and orange bitters. Right there. The truth is out there. How about you? What are you drinking?
Well, as you know, I was kind of in a complete hustle, an unexpected hustle all day today, starting around 10:30 or 11 my time. And so I didn't have time to plan. So I've made it fit, though. I've got bourbon neat, my favorite drink, but no mixer, no lies, nothing hiding. It's all being disclosed. So that's where I'm going with it. It's neat.
I love that. That's good.
Nothing hiding what's really there, the bourbon. So, all right, I tell you what, I know that we've got a lot to talk about. So let's go ahead and take a quick drop, have a sip of the beverage, and get into the show. Moonshine Jesus, Moonshine Jesus, Moonshine Jesus, Moonshine Jesus, won't you shine a light?
Welcome back to the Moonshine Jesus Show. Today we're talking about Disclosure Day, and as Mark has already warned you, if you haven't seen it, we're going to spoil it for you. This is our Geeking Out segment. We don't spend a whole lot of time here, but we do like to have fun and geek out about the movie a little bit, especially one as meaningful as a Spielberg movie. I don't know how many more Spielberg movies we've got left, so we got to savor all of them, man.
He's almost 80, so it can't be many more.
Right, and one with a score by John Williams. He is in his 90s,
got him out of retirement,
right?
Got him out of retirement.
So I mean,
and you could tell, man, those two may be the best team up in modern film. They're just amazing.
Right? Yes, and I mean that's when I was looking up. I always look to see if I need to stay for mid and post credit scenes.
Right,
and the response, of course, was. No, there's not a mid or post-credit scene, but you need to stay because you're going to want to hear John Williams' score. Yeah, man.
Exactly.
So it was midnight, so I didn't necessarily do that. I thought I'll listen to it later. But you know what? But it was fantastic throughout the film. So we're gonna geek out. We're gonna savor this film a little bit. Disclosure Day, if you haven't seen it, was, of course, produced and directed by the one and only Steven Spielberg. and it tells the story of a world on the brink of World War III. Follows a rogue cyber security expert named Daniel and a clairvoyant TV meteorologist, Margaret, who are targeted by the sinister Wardex Corporation. And they race to broadcast hard drives full of government-suppressed evidence, proving the existence of aliens. So, Mark, I want to start here. Spielberg, as we were just talking about, he's got a lot of classics. I'm just curious, like, as we start our conversation, do you have an all-time favorite Spielberg movie? And of course you do. What is it? And then I want to know, like, in your ranking of you don't have to give me the whole ranking or anything like that, but like in your ranking of Spielberg movies, where does this one fall approximately on the list?
Wow. Well, yes, my favorite one is still to this day, for lots of different reasons that I really don't want us to spend our time, is E.T. He wasn't expecting E.T. to be a hit. He was doing it for himself. It was his first one that was really kind of about a family and nothing bigger than the family. It was just about the family and its experience with it. I thought it was heartwarming. It changed the way cinema was done. It was right at, I mean, Jaws changed the way Hollywood acted. So did E.T. And so for lots of reasons, I loved the movie. I was just the right age to be watching it when it came out. So for me, it's that. This one, excuse me, this particular movie, it's really good, and I really liked it. It's still not in the top 5, I don't think. It might barely squeeze in the top 10. I had not sat down and kind of thought it through. I mean, he just has hit after hit after hit. I'm typically not even a war person, but his war movies have been pretty exceptional. So I'm going to put it barely in the top 10, but that means it is an absolutely astounding movie.
Yeah.
What about you? I'm
that's the
curious
thing,
to hear your answer to both of those.
Like, even if it's like not in the top 10, like all of Spielberg's movies are like above most other movies, right? So for me, like, top Spielberg movies are either, and actually my wife and I were talking about this right before the show, because I asked her hers. I said mine's either Raiders or Jurassic Park.
I was guessing Raiders for you.
I was gonna say, but Raiders slightly beats Jurassic Park, I think, and so I think that's where it is for me. I would say,
I didn't like Jurassic Park the first time I watched it. I thought it was
you
an
didn't
okay
like
movie.
Jurassic Park?
I like it a lot now. The first time I watched it in the theater, I was kind of underwhelmed, and I don't know why, but I was. I genuinely was.
I think
so for me, that's a.
When did it come? It came out in what, 93, something like that. I was 8.
Right.
I was 8, and I remember like seeing the dinosaurs come to life. Man, I was like into it. But I would say, like, where this ranks in the Spielberg like collection of movies. I mean, I think probably it doesn't quite make it in the top 10 for me. I really liked it, but again, it's a Spielberg movie, and like you're competing with things like Raiders and Jurassic Park and E.T. and all of these. So, but I would say it's not in the top 5 for me. But I did really like it, and so he does have a number of kind of extraterrestrial themed movies, and so you said E.T.'s your favorite. We've also got Close Encounters, of course, that put
also one of the top. Yep.
And
matter of fact, here's this crazy there's a theory that Close Encounters and this movie exist in the same world, and that Close Encounters is simply part of the story of this movie. And
what do you think of it?
Works. Completely works.
Did you buy into that fan theory? What do you think? Did you write it? Did you write it online?
No, I did not write it. I did not write it. I have no clue if he meant it to be, but it completely 100% could be. It easily becomes one of the stories that they go back and try to disclose. It would have been really cool if on the screen somewhere when they were all played it back, there'd been just a picture of the mountain or something would have. I would have just lost it. But I don't think it. Now that I've said that out loud, he probably didn't intend for it to be. Because I think he would have thrown a little Easter egg in there, a very subtle one. But boy, it sure works.
it's at least a spiritual successor, I think we could
Yes,
say,
absolutely,
to
100%.
Close Encounters, you know,
Mhm.
and it's interesting because kind of the beginning of his career here and maybe towards the end of his career. But I mean, he's talked a
Yeah.
lot about aliens and UFOs, War of the Worlds
Mhm.
too. So
Yep.
I'm curious, after like almost 50 years of storytelling, why do you think
Yeah.
he keeps gravitating towards this particular story?
He gravitates to it for the same reason that he gravitates to stories that have planes in them.
Hmm.
He explains that I can't remember his age now, but at either age 8 or 11, he was camping with his family. I think we even see this in his movie that he makes that's sort of about his family. Just one.
Super 8.
Yeah, Super 8.
Yeah.
Um,
Which I think is
he
an underrated movie. I like
I
that movie.
completely agree. I completely
Oh,
agree. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But
It's about
they're out
aliens too,
camping.
isn't it? Yeah.
Not really. I guess
Aren't
sort
there
of, yeah.
aliens in that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. No, there's actually a movie about his childhood and growing up and what makes him a filmmaker. And
Yeah.
one of the things that he talks about in interviews is when he was camping at age 8 or 11, uh, he was outside and he was looking up the sky and he just became fascinated with what's up there. And that he said from that moment on, he's always been intrigued by airplanes and the possibility of aliens, and that he thinks about it a lot, and he's always been intrigued by, I mean, he's only got one movie where the aliens come and are like aggressive towards us, and he's like, he's very big on, if they're going to maybe travel 3 generations worth of their life cycle possibly to be here, it's probably not to just destroy everything, it's probably to make contact. So I think his part of what he's doing is trying to reassure humanity, who always seems to go towards, well, we probably would go and squash people if we could, so of course they're going to come and squash us. I don't, maybe that's it. I don't know. Do you have a theory on why he's so intrigued with alien movies?
Well, I think you're right. I think it's about hope, and I mean, I think certainly this one is
Hmm.
about hope and truth and these kinds of things. And
Yeah,
I think it's also something about like we get so into these places where we're just like thinking about our own little world, what's going on, like for us now, that
yeah,
we even like in this show where it's like the world on the brink of World War III, right?
yeah.
And we're so obsessed with all these things that we forget that we're just a little speck in this whole grand scheme of things. I think
Yeah,
pointing to the possibility of like aliens is a reminder that look, we're so obsessed with all these other things, but there's more to life, there's more to the world, there's more to the universe than what we've thought. And I think, you know, exploring that in film is an incredible way to remind us that when
sure.
we are thinking about just the world as kind of the small thing that like there's more. And I think like
Yeah,
focusing on calling people to focus on commonality and bridge building and stuff is a good thing to do. So
absolutely.
how did you what did you think about the acting in this and do you think Emily Blunt has been praised? People have called this, you know, the best performance of her
Mhm.
career. I'm curious if you agree with that, and if you feel like she kind of carried the movie, or if it was really a team effort.
I think, yeah, one, yes. I think this is quite possibly the best we've seen her. I
Mhm.
really genuinely do. Did she carry the movie? Well, just because of screen time, she kind of did. But I'm going to say Colin Firth was right there in terms of giving him one of the best performances we've seen out of him. Oscar nominated Coleman Domingo, also absolutely
Mhm.
incredible in this. Even Bono's daughter,
Mhm.
who played Jane, I thought was exceptional. She went toe to toe with Colin Firth
Yeah.
frequently and held her own on this. And then Josh O'Connor, who played Daniel, was the first I was really aware of him much,
Yeah.
and I thought he was a really interesting casting. And really gave off the vibes of his character great. I loved it. I thought the casting was great, and I thought everybody really stepped up to the plate. It was impressive. I think. Do I think anyone's going to win an award? No. It's good, very good. Some of the best we've seen from them. I don't think anyone gets an award for this in terms of acting. I do think this movie gets several nominations in technical types of things, and maybe
I bet John Williams will get. I bet John Williams will get an Oscar for
and maybe
score.
directing, but that would mostly be just because it's going to be one of the last movies we have from him. They might give him just kind of a tip of the hat that he would get nominated for it or something. But I think we're going to see a lot of technical, because there was some great editing. There was great sound editing. There was anyway, there's several things that I think they could easily get nominated for.
Yeah, and I think I agree. I read some places that people felt like that Emily Blunt carried the movie, and I didn't. And I was actually kind of surprised because I didn't actually feel that way. And I think especially, there were large segments of the movie that she wasn't in, as we were seeing the other characters, which I felt connected to them too. And I thought casting Bono's daughter, who has those famous blue eyes, those like piercing blue eyes, I thought like that was brilliant for what they were doing with the drops too. Because I mean, if someone where the eyes go from blue to brown, right? So you can see Colin Firth's character in there. Like if Spielberg had cast someone who didn't have such piercing eyes. You wouldn't have even noticed. It would have been much more subtle. But I just thought that was some incredible movie making just right there. I would say though, the animals are a little bit of a point of contention. How do you feel about the animals, Mark?
The CGI was not good on the animals, man. It just wasn't. It pulled you out every time. Like every time they showed up. That's not true. The first time when the cardinal shows up, did not. Felt like that was really good. Really, really good. I don't know. Could have been a real cardinal that they just got to sit there. Who knows? But then the next time when we see like the deer with the antlers, it immediately pulled me out of the movie for a minute because I thought, "Ooh, that could have been better." And I'm really surprised because Spielberg loves to push technology, and it didn't feel like he did on animating those animals, right? Now, was it because they were really the aliens and it was supposed to not quite look real, and the people would be like taken over by the fact that the mind control was going on? Maybe that's how they're explaining it, but it did pull me out. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, whenever Emily Blunt's character was using like mind control things, she looked just like them. I mean, it felt like CGI from 15 years ago, and I was surprised to see that in this caliber of a movie to see that CGI, and I'm like, especially it wasn't too bad, I don't think, until all the animals were there together. And then it was like, oh, this.
Yeah, it was great. Particularly noticeable when that happened.
Yeah,
both of the times when we had groups of animals.
Yeah.
And the fox on the road. Oh my God, that might have been the worst one. Oh, it's just a fox. No, that's CGI, man. That's not a fox.
It's very CGI. So I mean, that would be my only thing, is that really did pull me out of the movie. And I'd love to talk more about. I've got some more questions about the ending and how we got there and all that. But I also want to make sure that we get to the meat of the show, the theology and politics. So why don't we stop right here? Why don't we take a break, take a drink, and come back and talk about theology and politics?
back, we're going to dive into some thoughts, mostly about theology. Honestly, it felt like about halfway through they just started beating us across. We had politics early on about the non-disclosure and everything, but then we just started getting religious themes over and over again. We're going to do both, but it is going to lean a little bit more towards the religious themes. So, Caleb, one of the main tensions in the movie is whether the truth should be revealed at all. So you've got characters who believe humanity really isn't ready for it. You got others who think that I don't know, people deserve the truth no matter what the consequences end up being. I have a question that's kind of both philosophical, theological, and maybe political. What is more dangerous, not knowing the truth or learning a truth that you're not prepared to handle?
Not knowing the truth is so dangerous, and especially when certain people want to control the truth and the narrative and to feed you what they want you to know. That's incredibly dangerous because that always serves people who are in power, always. So I think it's better for us to have like facts about things, even if we don't know quite what to do with them yet. And so I think that certainly we don't really get to know what happens on the other side of Disclosure Day, right? We don't know exactly what happens, but it seems likely that people are able to put aside some of their differences, or that's a possibility. That's what Spielberg seems to be leading us towards. And who knows? But I think that having that information is significantly better than not. And I think, like, theologically, this is really important because, you know, we as pastors all go to seminary and we're all taught the same things about the Bible, right? We're all taught that like the New Testament existed mostly as oral tradition and then was eventually written in multiple sources and then compiled, and that only pieces of it reflect Jesus. Like, we're all taught that. And then it's only a few of us who ever actually even tell that to our congregations. And a lot of it is because people think that pastors think people in the pews can't really handle that. And I just am much more of the opinion, like, don't we want people to know facts? Don't we want people to be able to discern truth for themselves instead of controlling the narrative ourselves? So, yeah, I think it's better for people to know. How about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm in complete agreement. And I think just following on what you're even talking about with ministers, you know, because it also applies to the larger idea, is that, you know, it really, in a lot of ways, is easier not knowing the truth. Because there's frequently, when it's a truth you're not prepared to hear yet, there's a lot of work that you're going to have to do. And it can feel uncomfortable, and it can make you feel scared. It can make you feel worried. It can make you feel all kinds of crazy things, which is what people use against us, because they know that not telling the truth might feel better to people and they're more likely to take it. And then they can use the actual truth for power, for control, for manipulation. And so, yeah, it's 100% better to know the truth. Is it harder? Yeah, it's harder to know it. And frequently you got a lot more work to do once you do. But it does prevent a world where there's certain folks who have all the truth and are able to manipulate the rest of the population in a way that marginalizes people, steps on people, creates severe hierarchies. So, yeah, I'm in agreement with you for sure. Let's keep moving on here. In the movie, Bono's daughter, the character Jane, says, "People have been raised to believe in a supreme being, and now you want to show us actual supreme beings? The world can't handle both." But then she calls Sister Mara, and she pushes back and asks, you know, why would God make such a vast universe and then save it for just us? So is the real threat that faith, is the real threat to faith alien life, or maybe is the real threat a theology that's too small to handle the truth, or is it something else altogether?
Yeah, so I really actually liked this component of this movie, the faith piece, because that's something that people, I think, really struggle with, but doesn't get explored a whole lot always, and I thought that was interesting to have Jane like having been in the convent and then struggling with this, and
Hmm.
then also having someone who has made their entire life uh, devotion to the faith struggling with these kinds of issues, that like without a moment's hesitation she's like, yeah, of course I believe in,
Yeah.
like Genesis actually even expands that notion
Yeah.
for her, for this character and her interpretation. And so
Uh-huh.
I thought that I thought that was interesting. And yeah, I think that alien life shouldn't be seen as a threat to faith. I think that first of all, if we allow like what we know about science to be to inform us, then we know that this universe is unfathomably large. And so assuming that we know the answers about everything just because we've read it in a book,
Yeah.
I think I think is incredibly naive.
Mm.
And it puts us trying to put ourselves at the top of the universe is kind of inexcusable. That actually a faith that grows larger, that embraces mystery, that says, hey, look, we don't actually even know. And this to have a faith that is wide enough that like if we were to discover alien life or
Mm.
alternate
Mm.
dimensions or whatever it is that we were to discover,
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that it's not unshakable to our faith, because maybe we haven't thought about God as this being that just is like still just in the sky somewhere. And I think a lot of times, even though we like think of ourselves as enlightened people or whatever,
Hmm.
that we still kind of have this ancient three-tiered notion of the universe where God's in the sky and it's just us and God. And I think
Yeah.
getting rid of that notion is a bigger, more realistic faith. What do you think?
I've never understood the pushback that some Christians give on the idea of life on other planets, and honestly, I think the question itself that the movie asks is bad theology.
Mm.
That the question of to and now you want to show us actual supreme beings. These aren't supreme beings. These are beings that are on a different development line than we are. So for me, it's just other life that's in different development points, which for me points even more heavily to that the real threat is a theology that's too small to handle a truth
Mm.
like that. So yeah, I definitely believe it's a silly question for me, and that
Mm.
of course life happens on other planets, and that doesn't change anything about there being this thing that we call God that's larger than us and is the connective tissue of the entire universe, and wants to push all of us towards love. So and I think that's part of the theme of this movie ultimately, is that pushing us towards more connectivity. I'm going to keep moving on because we're running quickly out of time on this segment. Hugo, who is sort of the lead good guy behind the scenes that's moving all the pieces, he says that
Literally.
yeah,
Right.
literally moving
The piece
exactly
of the house, yeah.
pieces of houses too. Yeah.
Right.
He says that aliens regard empathy as, quote, the foremost evolutionary advantage. And Jesus, I think, spent his ministry teaching compassion and mercy and love of neighbor. So why does empathy get mocked as a weakness by so many people who claim to follow Jesus? Because I agree with Hugo. The foremost evolutionary advantage is empathy. So
Yeah.
why do we see so many Christians, particularly Christian nationalists, pushing empathy and mocking it as some kind of a weakness?
This has been one of the most kind of unfathomable things to me, is that people can claim to follow Jesus and then talk about like the sin of empathy.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it just seems clear that these folks are not actually interested in following Jesus, or at least the Jesus that I know and want to follow. And I think ultimately that's because it feels like so many people's faith, and certainly the faith of
Mm.
folks who are like Christian nationalists, who are just mainly interested in using Christianity to create nationalism, that folks are really more interested in Christianity as power than they are about Christianity as a tool to follow the teachings of Jesus and draw closer to God.
Mm.
And I mean, I think we even see this in the church all the time as people claim to follow Jesus and yet weaponize Jesus to hurt
Oh yeah.
other people. And and so yeah, I think that we're certainly seeing this in our culture today. I think we're certainly
Yeah.
seeing people talk about compassion as a negative thing, but they're
Right.
doing that because they see Christianity as a tool to manipulate people and to gain power rather than a genuine interest in following the
Yeah,
teachings of Jesus.
I completely agree. And compassion gets in the way of that. Empathy gets in the way of manipulating and controlling people. Listen, I'm going to squeeze one more
Yeah.
question in. Spielberg, in an interview, has said that Disclosure Day is about, and I quote, "How do we get communities back together again, and how do we find common ground?" After everything that happens in the film, the final word of the film isn't believe or fight or fear or agree. The final word is simply listen. What does it say about us that listening may be the very thing that we're the worst at right now as all of as humanity?
Well, it strikes me that that's a common refrain in the gospel, common refrain in the
Mhm.
gospels too. Listen, uh, or
I've
even listen. Yeah, here.
yeah, hear this, hear now, even
Right, right.
behold can be understood as pay attention, listen.
Listen, yeah. So I think that that's a spiritual theme, but yeah, it's certainly something that we struggle with because you can't really have empathy. You can't really have compassion if you're
Mhm.
not listening to other people, if you're not really hearing what they're saying. And I mean, I've even had conversation. You probably have too, Mark, where you're talking to someone and even if they're like repeating back what you're saying, you can just tell they're not getting it. And I've even stopped someone say and told them, like I know that you're saying you've heard me, but it
Mhm.
doesn't feel like you're really listening to what I'm trying to tell you.
Right.
Your actions, the way you're treating me, is not showing me that you're hearing what I'm saying. And so I think that that listening is certainly what we need as a society right now because it is listening that leads to empathy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. We're out of time on this segment, so I'm going to let you have the final word there. But I agree with you. I thought that was very well put. We don't want to keep going, though, because we don't want to miss our favorite segment, the Make Me Look Stupid segment. So we'll take a quick drop, maybe finish our drinks, and we'll see you on the other side.
Welcome back to the Moonshine Jesus Show. We're entering our favorite segment, our Make Me Look Stupid segment, where we might ask each other questions to try and make each other look stupid, or we might try and get the other person to make a prediction. That's my favorite thing to do.
Yes, it is,
Or
unfortunately.
yes, yes. Although you shouldn't say that's unfortunate, Mark, because you almost always get that right.
It doesn't
I'm the
feel like it.
one who always pays. I always forget that I also have to make a prediction.
That's
And,
true.
or we might just ask each other a question that we're genuinely curious
Mhm.
about. And so that's what I want to do today,
Okay.
Mark. I just want to ask
Yeah.
you a question about Spielberg movies that I'm genuinely curious about.
Yeah.
And here's what it is. Do you have are there any bad Spielberg movies, or is there a Spielberg movie that people don't really seem to like, but that holds a special place in your heart?
Wow. That's a tough question. Bad Spielberg movies. Yeah. What was the name of that damn that Sorry. There's a movie he did about a dog. Was it Tintin?
Oh yeah, Tintin, The Adventures of Tintin. Yes, and it was animated, or it was kind of like the like early CGI graphic stuff too, right? It was like mid 2000s or something like that.
It's that, or you might get upset with me about this. It's either that one or Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Skull.
Oh, Crystal Skull. Well, which is also, I guess, not really about aliens. It's about interdimensional beings.
Interdimensional beings, but oh my god!
I almost mentioned this earlier.
That was bad. I mean, you're a big Indiana Jones fan.
I love Indiana Jones. The best thing about it was that it was filmed at Yale, and so I love that part of it. But yeah, but it's interesting to me. I almost mentioned this earlier because Spielberg is seemingly drawn to shows about extraterrestrials, right?
Sure.
And yet, George Lucas had pitched this for years, right? Kind of an alien. Let's go into the 50s aliens thing, and Spielberg's like, I don't know, man. That doesn't sound like a great idea. and then George Lucas is like, no. These are like interdimensional beings, and Spielberg's like, all right, I guess. And I mean, he was right on the money on that one. So that one wasn't great. Wasn't great.
What about you? What movie do you think is his worst movie, or a set of movies that are his worst ones?
I don't know what his worst movie is, but I do know one that nobody else seems to like or doesn't have a good like Rotten Tomatoes score. It hasn't held up, but that I love, and that's Hook with Robin Williams. I love Hook. Peter Pan as an adult, going back to Neverland.
I think Hook was a bad Spielberg movie, but a pretty good movie.
Okay, I'll take that.
That's how I would put it. I don't think it's there's not a lot of Spielberg, in my opinion, in that movie. Yeah. But it was certainly entertaining.
I mean, maybe it's just that it's like Spielberg. It's still got the John Williams score. Mm-hmm. We've got Robin Williams in there. For me, I think it's a healthy dose of nostalgia as well. Sure. But for me, it's Hook. I like that one.
Okay.
You have a question for me, Mark?
Yeah, I do. So in the movie, Jane says that she is no longer sure that God is divine, but she still believes God is essential. What exactly does that mean?
Well, it sounds to me like she's starting to deconstruct here a little bit, right? I think that we get so caught up in our notions of what God should be that sometimes that gets in the way of us understanding what God really is. And to me, like, as I was watching Jane kind of begin to deconstruct in the film, it was recognizing that, like, one of the reasons that she left the convent, right, it was because she had lost faith in God, and the sister at one point says, "No, you've lost faith in humanity," or something. Which
exactly
same thing. But that really, I think she was struggling with her notion of who God was, and I think what she actually discovered is maybe that God is more like what we were talking about in the last segment. That God is larger than we typically think. That God maybe isn't in control of everything, that God maybe isn't pulling all the strings, that God maybe doesn't have a plan, but that doesn't mean that God isn't valuable. The concept of God isn't valuable. Of course, she did also kind of get into an opiate of the masses kind of argument as well, right? That people need to believe in God, and so that was also in there. But I think we were kind of seeing her deconstruct. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's really the opium of the masses kind of thing is what she was pointing to. And I don't think she was doing it in such a negative sense. I think she was saying who we are as humanity throughout the history of humanity. There has been a segment of society that needs to understand whatever this thing that we call God in some way. They need that. It is what makes this craziness that we all experience as through life and a little more manageable. But the divine part, and I think she uses divine as a label to say all of these traditional understandings of who God is and how God interacts with the world is not true anymore. And that we have to let go of that. But that understanding that there is something larger that does, as I said earlier, connects us and pushes us towards love is essential for humanity to be okay, at least certain portions. I want to say very clearly, most of my closest friends are agnostic and atheist, and they do just fucking fine without the idea of a God. They are wonderful, beautiful people. But some folks, that the understanding of what God is and who God is and how we relate to that thing that is God is essential for a happy life. And I think that might be what that character was pointing to.
I wonder if that's also something that Spielberg has wrestled with as well. I'm curious, with his own Jewish faith and what that means to both have this as an essential part of who you are, but also question what that means. And I guess that's something that so many of us deal with in a lot of different ways.
Absolutely.
So, man, Mark, this was a good movie. I enjoyed going. There weren't a ton of people there when I went to see it, but it was still kind of an event. I don't know.
I completely agree.
Was it? Were there?
I went to a matinee at an IMAX, and it wasn't particularly full, but everyone who was there were having audible reactions to the screen. I loved there were so many Spielberg moments, so many one shots that went for minutes on end that were in the middle of it. You all of a sudden realize, wow, wait a minute, he hadn't even cut. And how did he went through the fence and he went back through the fence and they went around the fence and he got in the car and he was riding past. I mean, there was some pretty amazing Spielberg moments in it too. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. If you haven't seen it yet and you've watched all the way up to this point, the first 15-ish minutes, the writer in me loved it. I was sitting here trying to figure out what in the world's going on. Why are they showing us this? What's good? But I know a lot of folks are saying, it was a little bit like slow because you didn't understand why they were doing the things that they were doing. And I can get that. But boy, once it starts going, it goes.
Yeah, it does. I'm with you. I kind of liked the first part. It got me in right away, starting at that wrestling match or whatever the fight. That got me in right away, and then like the chase, I was in it. And I also, in addition to the Spielberg moments, as we said earlier, the score, the John Williams score. I mean, it's an event. It's a thing to see. If you haven't seen it, go see it.
And it is. There are several scenes that make it worth seeing on the big screen.
Yes, I didn't see it on the IMAX, but still,
just the big screen in general. Because particularly, I mean, there's other ones, but the two car scenes are more than worth seeing on the big screen.
Yeah. Oh, well, that was fun. That was fun to talk about. And Mark, you had a suggestion for next week. You had suggested.
I suggested Toy Story 5. Right? It's coming out. It's got good reviews. Sci-fi fantasy. Toys coming to life, man. That fits the category.
Well, this is an interesting one too, because this is what, 30 years or so, 31 years that they've been making Toy Story movies, something like that. And so it's also interesting because they continue to evolve and tell like the different ways we experience toys. And this one, as I understand it, is about technology and kids not really playing with toys anymore. And so that's interesting. I'm going to go see it with my kids. They've been wanting to see it. They've been talking about the evil tablet and what that means. And of course, we've been talking about what that means in our own house with the evil tablet living right with us. And so I'm looking forward to it, man. That's a good choice.
Good. I am very excited about it. And I knew that I wanted to hear your experience with kids of it as well. So this will be great. I'm looking forward to it, man.
Me too. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us. So glad that you could join us today to talk about Disclosure Day. And can't wait to see you next time on the Moonshine Jesus Show.
Moonshine Jesus.